Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to South Africa once again, and we're going to revisit the brewery who you saw me review just a few videos back, but we've got a beer that is quite different from the other ones. So we're going to go back to Cape Town today and we're reviewing another beer from Devil's Peak. So this one is called the Cut and Run. It comes in at 5% ABV and it's described as a juicy pale ale. Now the one that you saw me review before, the King's Blockhouse, that one was more of a kind of West Coast IPA from what I remember, and this one was only released in 2017. The King's Blockhouse they've been producing for quite a wee while actually, but this one was just released at the end of 2017, and it's supposed to be more of a kind of New England type IPA, this one. It says on the side here that they've got oats and lactose and stuff in the brew, this one, so it should be a nice kind of creamy, juicy IPA. So certainly looking forward to this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, a link to my other reviews that I've done from Devil's Peak Brewing before. You will see a few more in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage of the channel and search based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the South African beers that I'm going to review for you, and hopefully I can add to that fairly regularly over time. But as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. And do in particular get in touch if you're watching from South Africa and let me know some other breweries that I should be looking out for. You know, you guys are the best source of information when it comes to craft beer. But anyway, to tell you a little bit about Devil's Peak Brewing then, this is quite an interesting company history, this one. So Devil's Peak Brewing were founded by Greg Crumb back in 2012, and he'd travelled the world sampling beers, and he also dabbled in home brewing as well. But he and his wife were avid climbers, and they used to home brew and then share their beers with farmers and climbers that they met on their travels. But eventually they were asked to brew a beer for a charity event held by Rocklands, and during this kind of process they decided to sell their beers under the name Red Cliff Brewing Company, and they went down really well, and this gave them the confidence really to kind of go on and actually do this properly. But after this, his friend Wolfgang from Paulaner in Cape Town introduced him to a group of people, one of whom was Russell Boltman, and they wanted to develop beer for their contract brewing project, which later evolved into Black Crow Brewing Company. And one of the partners was Christian Andersen of Beerwerk and also Beer Here, who produced some really nice beers over in Denmark. I believe they're based on Bornholm these days, but he later pulled out and returned to Denmark, of course, and it was during this time that the Devil's Peak Brewing name was adopted. And this of course comes from the mountain in Cape Town, because they wanted the beers to have a real kind of South African sort of Cape Town type branding to them. But he and Greg sort of set off, Greg and Russell set up on the Nano Brewery route, and then they were joined by Dan Badenhorst, and they started up in Somerset West in Cape Town, and they were later joined by Derek Szabo as well. But in April of 2012, Greg left Devil's Peak to return to the US with his family. I think his wife got a really good job at one of the UN missions or something over there. She was involved working in diplomacy and things like that. And JC Stein was hired to train as a brewer, and he came from the wine industry but also had some home brewing experience as well. He's now the head brewer of the company, and then they relocated in 2013 to Salt River, and they're now based at a 6,500 square metre facility with a tap room in Epping. But they also run a few restaurants, and they've also been introducing kind of barrel aging projects and stuff as well to South Africa. So these guys, from what I gather, are considered one of the kind of premier craft breweries down in South Africa, I should say, and they're probably one of the better known names, if you like. Their beers, they are starting to export their beers over to England and stuff like that now, and I'm gathering that they have made it over to the US as well. So yeah, interesting times ahead. I've heard that they're producing some hops and things down in South Africa, so maybe we'll start getting beers that are produced with South African hops. That should be interesting to see at some point. But the last beer, as I say, I had from these guys, I really enjoyed. They've got quite a diverse range of styles as well. You can get stouts, you will see me review some of those at some point in the fairly near future. You can get pale ales, New England IPAs, West Coast IPAs and stuff like this, and they also do lagers and things like that as well. So a really interesting brewery, this one. They've got a nice bit of history, and like I say, they're regarded as the kind of premier craft brewery in South Africa, as far as I can gather. Do correct me on that if I'm wrong, if you're watching from South Africa. Of course, I can't speak in this video, but as always, the brewery website and stuff is in the description for you below. You can follow them on Facebook and keep up to date with all the latest goings on at the brewery. But let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one there. You can see the artwork on this is actually quite nice. It's really different from the other ones that we reviewed, or the other one that we reviewed, the King's Blockhouse IPA. This one's a little bit more of a kind of modern sort of jazzy type artwork on this one, and there you can see there is the Devil's Peak bottle cap on this one. But yeah, really nicely presented beer, this one. So without further ado then, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting. Like I say, 5% pale ale, this one. It will be the kind of New England style pale ale from what I gather, and yeah, let's just have a taste of this. And I will say, you can smell some of that nice juicy fruity character coming out of this beer as we open it up. Can go. I'm going to get a little bit ahead on that, but I'm sure it will settle down just nicely in a little minute. But yeah, as you can see, and as you would expect from this beer, it's poured a nice, quite bright, sort of fruit juicy kind of yellow colour, that one. There's a solid 2 fingers of a frothy, I would say, slightly cream coloured head to this one, and 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall it does look really quite nice actually. So yeah, pretty much as you would expect one of these New England IPAs, kind of New England pale ales, to look the nice big hazy sort of juicy thing. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Ooh, yeah. That smells really nice. I reckon there's Citron Mosaic in this. Just going by the aroma, I think there is some Citron Mosaic in this beer. There might be like a little bit of Simcoe or Galaxy or something like that in it as well. But yeah, with this beer, straight away, I think there's a little bit of passion fruit in there, and I think there's a bit of mango coming out of this one. I think as well, there's a sort of tangerine-y, sort of orangey note, and that's what's really making me think. You know, I do think there's some Citra in here. I'm guessing there's a bit of Mosaic as well, because it's got a little bit of that tangerine note, but I think there's a bit of blueberry as well, and those are the 2 kind of telltale signs of the Mosaic. So yeah, I think there's a bit of passion fruit. That could be one of 2 things. It could either be Galaxy from Australia, or it could be Simcoe from America. There might be an Australian, a South African hop in there as well, that could give you that, so I may be making a mistake by naming those hops. I'm not actually sure. I need to research the South African hops a little bit. It would be really cool to try some of these beers with the actual, you know, the South African high alpha acid hops, because I know they do exist. I just don't know any of the names of them yet, but I'm sure we'll sort that out. I really cannot speak in this video, guys. But yeah, I think mangoes, passion fruits. Definitely, there's definitely sort of a tangerine orange there, and for me there's blueberries. There's a little bit of lychee and stuff coming out of this one, and some gooseberry kind of notes. I really think there's a bit of Citra in here. I'd be very surprised if there's not. But yeah, it's a nice big kind of tropical, juicy, fruity note that's coming out of this one. Of course, you've got a little bit of a kind of floral, grassy element in there as well, which is what you're always going to get with these big hoppy beers. And there's a little bit of kind of sweetness from the malt base. You can definitely pick up a wee bit of creaminess from the oats. There's a little bit of that kind of wheaty, white bready note, and I think there's a little kind of touch of biscuity sweetness coming out of the beer as well. But I mean, overall, it does smell really quite nice. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in. But from what I gather, this one is a really quite nice pale ale, this. So let's have a taste of it and see how we get on. So this one is the Cut and Run, described as a juicy pale ale at 5% from Devil's Peak Brewing Company down in Cape Town in South Africa. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål. Oh yeah. That's a pretty damn solid beer. I'll say that about this straight up. Yeah, it's really nice, and it's quite refreshing as well. I mean, what I would say about this one, compared to some of the IPAs that you'll get, the sort of New England IPAs, pale ales and stuff, that you'll get in Europe, for me the carbonation in this one is a little bit more crisp. You can understand that with this beer, considering where it comes from. Obviously, South Africa, you know, will be a pretty bloody hot country, to be honest. I've never been. I would like to go at some point, but I would be gathering that this beer, you know, you will need a bit of carbonation in it just to deal with the heat, of course, and to make it refreshing. But it has everything else you would want from the style. So yeah, with this one, you can feel that nice pale malt, quite bready quality. The wheaty character just blanket in the middle of your palate there. That goes right across the middle of your tongue. As the flavour evolves a little bit, you start to get the nice kind of oaty creaminess there coming out of your palate. You can really feel that just kind of forming a big kind of circle in the middle of your palate, and then on top of that there's a little bit of a kind of biscuity sweetness. There's not really much in the way of caramel and things like that, but the beer does have a little bit of a kind of creamy quality to it as well. That'll be contributed to by the lactose that's in this beer, but this beer is by no means is this one of these milkshake IPAs. It definitely has that sort of bready quality to the malt base. But yeah, for me, it's a really solid paleo. That there's, in terms of the New England style, like I said, it's got everything you want. Back corners of the palate, there's a little touch of earthiness there, but not too much. That again, that makes me think they've used a little bit of mosaic in there, because you do get a little bit of that kind of, just a little bit of that earthiness there. But as you come further forward along the sides of the palate, you can pick out there's that nice, slightly spicy, floral aromatic note to this one. This beer isn't too big in terms of IBUs, but again, you're not going to expect that from the New England styles compared to the West Coast. The New England styles are a little bit more reserved in terms of IBUs, but then round the very front curve of the palate, you've got that nice kind of lighter grassy feel to this beer, and then just behind the front curve of the tongue you've got a nice oily bubble where the nice fruity juicy esters start to come out of the beer, and that's where this beer really kind of shines. So for me, there's a bit of passion fruit just kind of forming the backbone of this beer. Again, like I said, that makes me think there's a wee bit of Simcoe or maybe Galaxy coming out of the beer. On top of that, you've got a little bit of a nice kind of mango sort of flavour to this one. There's almost a little bit of a kind of lighter sort of papaya or something like that to this beer, I would say. Yeah, there's a little bit of a kind of mangoey sort of papaya thing going on with this beer. I mean, that could be a South African hop that's added to it. I can't think which hop it is that's going to give you papaya. I mean, there's so many New Zealand hops and things like that these days, and Australian hops. It's probably something from somewhere over there, if it's not South African, that I'm not quite familiar with. Of course, in Europe we are a bit more familiar with the American hops, and Slovenia, of course, is producing some really nice high alpha acid hops at the moment as well. But yeah, it's definitely interesting that, as I say, you've got mangoes, papayas. There's a little touch of a kind of tangerine character to this one. Then as you go further and further into the aftertaste, there's a nice little bit of that kind of blueberry note coming out there. I think there's a little bit of a lychee and almost a kind of gooseberry flavour in there as well, which is really nice. It's got pretty much everything, as I say, that you would want from this style. I would say as you go into the aftertaste, there's a little bit of that floral character lingering there. Some nice mangoes and a bit of a kind of tangerine orange as well. It's really nice, that, and I mean, it is cool to find another country that's producing these paleos and these sort of New England type IPAs that are of this quality. So, you know, well done to Devil's Peak for this. This is a really solid beer. It's just nice and light and drinkable. It's pretty much got everything you would want. I would say about it, it's not quite as creamy as some of the New England IPAs that I've come across. It does still have a little bit of that kind of German sort of smoothness to it. It's definitely got that German sort of beery quality to it, this beer, which is really nice as well. So I do like these sort of New England IPAs that are a little bit more kind of beery rather than juicy, if that makes sense. This one definitely reminds me of that. But in terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say mid-bodied, definitely. Carbonation, this one is a little bit more active. Like I was saying, you can understand that considering where this beer comes from. They will need their beers to be a little bit crisp down there. You want the beer to be refreshing. The mouthfeel overall, there's a good bit of smoothness in there, but it does lean a little bit towards the oily side of things, which is what you would expect. Good balance of smoothness, creaminess and sort of sweetness in the malt base in this one. There's just a little bit of that biscuit sweetness there. Good little bit of hoppy bitterness as well. Like I said, it's not going to blow your head off in terms of IBUs, but there's a lot of nice kind of juicy fruity character from the hops in this one. But overall, a really, really solid beer. Another great one from Devil's Peak Brewing. And you know, as I said, it's very cool to visit a kind of new country in terms of blogging and find that they're producing these New England IPAs at the same quality that you're going to find in Europe. So well done to Devil's Peak Brewing Company for this, and I do look forward to trying more South African beers on the basis of what I've tried so far. There seems to be some great stuff going on down there. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. So this one was the Cut and Run, a juicy pale ale, sort of New England type pale ale from Devil's Peak Brewing Company down in Cape Town in South Africa. Really interesting beer, this one, and I'm glad that I got to try it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed my take on this one. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Devil's Peak Brewing Company, and as I was saying, do let me know some other South African beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. So until the next time, it's Landry just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. Make sure you have a go at this beer if you get the chance. To those of you watching in England, I'm sure that you can get this beer now. I've been told that it has been exported into the UK, or imported into the UK, I guess I should say, quite readily. So make sure you check this one out if you get the chance. Until the next time, it's Landry just now, and I will catch you guys later. Skål.